So we're on Yud Dalet Amud Aleph by the Mishnah. We'll go a little over time today also. I hope that won't be too overtime in order to catch up. Today we should be catching up the two daf that we were missing. Okay, Yud Dalet 14a. So till now we spoke about the halachas of the schach, what the schach has to be made out of. And now we said the three conditions: it has to be not connected to the ground, not attached, and it should be something material which grows from the ground, and it should also not be vulnerable to tumah. It shouldn't have whatever the halachas of tumah are, that it shouldn't be susceptible to tumah. So now the Mishnah has a case of boards. You go to the lumber yard and you order boards. That would be a great schach. Without the bamboo, without the mats, without the what's wrong with boards? Boards, wood grows from the ground, and since it doesn't have a base kibble, so a pshutik leis are not susceptible to tumah, and it's not attached to the ground, that would be a great schach. Just get boards, planks. What's wrong with that? So that's the issue now in the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, "Mesachin v'nesom divri Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Meir osam." Machlokes, if you're allowed to use boards. What nasa means a board, planks. Are you allowed to use boards for schach? Rabbi Yehuda says you may. Rabbi Meir says not. And we'll see more as we go on in the Gemara. If you put a board which is 4 tefachim wide, a tefach is about 8 centimeters. Some say 10 centimeters. So let's say, for argument's sake, like about 40 centimeters wide. So till now we didn't talk about how wide the board is. We just said boards. It's not. Now it says if the board is 4 tefachim wide, so the sukkah is still kosher, but you cannot sleep under it. So
I have a bunch of pictures for today's daf. I don't know how much time you want to spend, but I have two for what you've just said.
Okay.
So the first one is this is just showing the boards. Can you see that? Is it big enough?
Yeah. So we see the planks of the boards over there, using planks with a sukkah. Very nice, easy way to make a sukkah. They made pretty thick ones, but okay, also good.
Okay, no, wait just a minute.
Not as thick, they made it pretty thick. I could have made it easy planks.
Yeah, okay. Now here it shows 4 tefachim, and it shows that over here it's going to be a sort of cylinder.
The place on the bottom of the floor, it says the part that's kosher, and then it says, but don't sleep under the part which is considered puzzle. So that's the halacha that if you have schach puzzle on the side of the sukkah, so the sukkah is still kosher as long as it's not going to be more than dalet amos. An amma is what do they call it, a cubit, and that's about 50 centimeters. So about they say 1.92 meters. So then that's considered, like we said, the halacha dofen akum is still part of an extension of the wall, a bent wall, and the sukkah will still be kosher because you have 3 walls. But Mishnah is saying that the board, which is 4 tefachim wide, is considered puzzle. So it's interesting. The Mishnah started off saying machlokes if a board is kosher or puzzle, and then it talks about the board that is puzzle. That even though the board is puzzle, but you're still allowed to use the sukkah because it's not dalet amos. It's still only a dofen akum. It's a bent wall. It's a part of the bent wall, and then it extends until the schach, and then the sukkah starts. So that's interesting. Yes, that's it. 4 tefachim. Yes. There wouldn't be 4 tefachim, then it wouldn't be a problem, it sounds like. Since it's 4 tefachim now, the schach is puzzle, but the sukkah is not puzzle because it's not more than dalet amos. It isn't dalet amos. And you have till dalet amos to be able to be considered still a kosher sukkah. Thank you. Thank you, Levi Yaakov. Is there a way that I could, is it because no, I have to do each time. I'm just trying to figure out how to do this. Okay, let's go ahead. We're going to put now. We don't know yet because it's very, very big. First of all, then it says boards that are 4 tefachim, nothing. But now the Gemara is going to be very clear. I'm Rav. It's going to be a machlokes Rav and Shmuel. Rav is the lenient opinion. Shmuel is the more stringent opinion. I'm Rav. Machlokes ben Nesorim sheish ben arba. When the Mishnah says in the beginning, Mesachin ben Nesorim, it doesn't say how big they are. How big are these boards? It doesn't say. So Rav says the boards are 4 tefachim wide. Even though the end of the Mishnah says a board which is 4 tefachim. The Mishnah in the beginning doesn't say. But where Rav says that the whole Mishnah is talking about boards that are 4 tefachim, and that's the machlokes. So Meir is like Zeres Tikra, Rabbi Yehuda less like Zeres Tikra. The issue of Meir and Rabbi Yehuda, the machlokes is, are you worried that if a person is going to make schach out of planks, out of boards, he's going to look at it that he doesn't see the difference between his house and his sukkah. Nowadays, of course, people don't make their ceilings out of boards. You don't have that. Nobody, not in this part of the world, you don't have that the ceiling is made out of planks. But till very recently, that's how they made houses. And they had planks, wide planks, 4 tefachim wide. That was considered a normal roof. And he's going to look in a sukkah and he says he has planks of wood. And he's going to say, what's the difference? I might as well go home already. What's the difference between my sukkah and my house? My house also has planks of wood. Kosher schach, everything's good. So, and that surely is not good. a person's house is surely not a kosher sukkah, even though it's kosher schach, because he lives there the whole year. That's not called a sukkah. It has to be something made for shade, and only temporarily. It's something that goes out of his house, and he's doing something for the mitzvah of sukkah. But if he stays in his house, even though it's kosher schach, that's not good. So that's machlokas. Rav Meir says, don't use boards that are 4 tefachim wide, because that's very similar to his house. And if he's going to use that, he's going to use his house already. And Rabbi Yehuda doesn't know that it's there. Rabbi Yehuda didn't worry about that worry, and therefore he said it's kosher. But aval, but if it's less than 4 tefachim, then it doesn't look like a roof at all. And people's houses were not made out of planks that were less than 4 tefachim wide. Then even Rabbi Meir will say that it's kosher. So that's easy pshat in the Mishnah. Just go over it again. That according to Rav, the whole Mishnah is only talking about boards that are 4 tefachim wide. Less than that is nothing to talk about. It's surely kosher. But Meir says if the boards are 4 tefachim wide, so then there's a problem that he might think, what's the difference between this and my house? And he's going to use his house, and that's surely not good. So he said, don't use boards that are 4 tefachim wide. So that's Rav's opinion, and that's the lenient opinion. But Shmuel goes differently. Shmuel's going to say that less than 4 tefachim also might be a problem. But Meir is coming to say that it's not good even less than 4 tefachim. If it's 4 tefachim, then everyone, even Avidu, would say that it's not good. Even Avidu would say, according to his pshat, it goes up a notch. That Rav Yehuda, everybody holds that if it's 4 tefachim wide, you have to make this gezerah, and don't use planks that are 4 tefachim wide because it's similar to his house. And Rav Meir is coming to be mashma, but even less than 4 tefachim is also, sometimes people make their roofs out of planks that are less than 4 tefachim also, and that also is worthy of making a gezerah, of making this decree, and don't sit in such a sukkah either. The Gemara is surprised, less than 4 tefachim, but less than 3 tefachim. He just said that less than 4 tefachim is also a problem according to Rav Meir. Is Rav Meir going to say that it's not good even less than 3 tefachim? That just sticks. The Gemara, sticks is surely kosher. The Gemara looks at it that less than 3 tefachim nobody uses for a roof, and no reason to make a gezerah at all. So Rav Meir says even less than 4 tefachim, even less than 3 tefachim. So he says no. That's what the Gemara is going to say. No, nobody holds less than 3 tefachim is a problem. If it's 4 tefachim, everybody holds that as possible, even Rabbi Yehuda. Yes, surely. Less than 3 tefachim, nothing to talk about. That's surely kosher. My time kind of almanated, which just plain sticks. Machlokas is between 3 and 4. Means once it's 3 tefachim until 4, once it's 4, it's surely possible. Less than 3 is surely kosher. But between that, from 3 to 4, that's the machlokas. That Rabbi Yehuda holds, since it's not a significant amount of place. 4 tefachim is usually significant. Shir Mokom, that's called significant. We had that a few times already, that 4 tefachim is considered a significant distance. It's a place, in our Masechta we had it also. Erevin. So since it's less than 4 tefachim, there's no reason to make a gezerah. Rashi says people don't use that usually for planks for a roofing. We know lavud means that something which is less than 3 tefachim is considered filled in. That's a very small space that's not considered a breach. So since it's bigger than lavud, so it is considered a significant amount. So we finish the machlokas. That's to zoom out a second and to review it. That Rav Meir is more stringent about this gezerah than Rabbi Yehuda is. There's a gezerah tikra. Tikra means a roofing, that a person might think that the sukkah is as good as his roof will go into his house already. When they make this gezerah. So according to Rav, only Rav Meir makes the gezerah only when it's 4 tefachim. But if it's less than 4 tefachim, nobody makes the gezerah. And Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold the gezerah at all. Rav Meir is, again, according to Rav, only Rav Meir, only when it's 4 tefachim. And Shmuel's machmer on 2 points. He says that if it's 4 tefachim, everybody holds that it's no good. Even Rabbi Yehuda is going to make the gezerah. And Shmuel's and Rav Meir's machmer even from 3 to 4. Even once it's 3, it's already not good either. So we had machlokas, Rav and Shmuel, how to understand the machlokas between Rav Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. Now the Gemara. Yes, please.
Throughout the sugya, Rashi uses 3 times the word rov, and then describing Rabbi Meir, he says Rabbi Meir chayesh lemiut. So he's learning the whole sugya as miut and rov.
Right, but it doesn't mean a regular miut and rov. It means that is there room to make a gezerah, the usual and the non-usual. It doesn't so much mean the rov and the miut. It means more that most people do it that way. It means there's reason to make such a gezerah because it's normal. So something which is not normal, no one makes a roof out of that. There's no reason to make a chashash that someone's going to think that this is as good as my house. No one has a house like that. And Rabbi is going to say, but some people do it. It's not impossible. So it's not a question of mamish, miut and rov. I wouldn't think so. I think that it means the chashash, how much people will make such a mistake. So now the Gemara is going to start analyzing to try to figure out how to decide this machlokus. Where are we? Tanan. That's over there. Here. Tanan. Back to our Mishnah. Amisha said the machlokas are made in Rabbi Yehuda, and then it said if you had a board which was 4 tefachim wide, so don't sleep under it. It's still kosher because it's dofen akuma. You still have less than 4 amos, it's still kosher, but you can't use it. So the Mishnah, at the end of the Mishnah says that 4 tefachim is a problem. If you put a board which is 4 tefachim wide, the sukkah is still kosher, but don't sleep under it because that board is now puzzle. So Shmuel is very good because he says that everybody agrees that a board which is 4 tefachim is puzzle. Baruch will explain. The machlokes was between 3 and 4, but 4, everyone knows that is puzzle. So it's very nice. The Mishnah first says the machlokes about small boards, less than 4, but then it says, but if it's a board which is 4 tefachim, then when everybody's not good, Four. Bishlam Lishmol Dama Bishain Ben Abba Machlokis, Avaliyesh Ben Abba Yaakov Psula. According to Shmuel, who says the Machlokis is less than 4, but when it's 4, everyone, even Avid holds that this Xavier of Tikra looks like a roof. So it's very nice that everyone in the Mishnah agrees that once it's 4 tefachim, don't sleep under it because it's chak basel. But Rav says that according to Rabbi Yehuda, there's no such problem. Even the boards that are 4 tefachim, Rabbi Yehuda holds is kosher. So why does it say don't sleep under it? Why should Rabbi Yehuda agree to this? That you're not allowed to sleep under it. Why not? It's chak kosher. It's kosher schach. If you hold Rav according to Rabbi Yehuda says there's no such Xeris Tikra. Even Rav Meir is only talking about when it's 4 tefachim wide, but Rabbi Yehuda doesn't care about it. Let it be 4 tefachim, 5 tefachim wide, no problem. So why does the Mishnah say don't sleep under it? So the Gemara says,
you're going to say that even though it's 4 or 5, it's the whole sukkah is still kosher, so you sleep under it.
yes, Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold this there at all. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold this problem that people will say it looks like my house. He doesn't make this decree. So why does the Mishnah say that he shouldn't sleep under it? So the Gemara says, yeah, you're right. Rabbi Yehuda is not talking. You think that the Mishnah, everyone's talking at the end of the Mishnah. Seifa son Rabbi Meir. In the Seifa, only Rabbi Meir is talking. The end of the Mishnah, so we'll back Mishnah a second. The beginning of the Mishnah said, Machlokes, if you're allowed to use boards, and we're going to say it means 4 tefachim boards according to Rav. And then the Mishnah ends off that according to Rabbi Meir, you have to stick in. According to Rabbi Meir is talking. Rabbi Meir is also, Rabbi Meir says 4 tefachim is not good, and he says if you put a board which is 4 tefachim, so even though you can't sleep under it, but the sukkah is kosher because dofen akuma. So we went through the Mishnah, and even though it seemed not like Rav explains the Mishnah that the end of the Mishnah is only Rabbi Meir. So we start the
You can
focus.
sleep with your body under the floor and just have your head on the
No.
wrist. Because it said Rosh Hashanah.
You have to be inside the sukkah. This is considered puzzle. This is considered out of the sukkah, but the wall is still usable because it's less than Dalet Amos, so it's considered a bent wall, and you could utilize that wall to be the third wall of your sukkah. But you can't sleep under it because you're under the wall. You're not under the sky. So there's still. This is the bent wall right there. The bent wall. The bent wall rule. Okay.
Called in Hebrew?
Dofen akuma, a bent wall. We're gonna get there. We'll get there more. Dofen akuma. Okay, last words. Tashma. We're still trying to figure out, analyze this machlokes between Rav and Shmuel and try to find the proof. Tashma. It says in the Brisa, Shnei sadinim mitzarfim, 2 sheets. A sadin is a sheet. So we said.
I have a
yes,
picture.
please.
It just shows 2 different materials. It's not so easy to see, but you get the idea.
Those are two pieces of material, different colors. You see, one is red, one is blue, and each one is 2 tefachim. All together is 4 tefachim. So each one is chach basel. It's makabel tama. Material, surely a garment, piece of a sheet. Surely it's not kosher. It's makabel tama. So if you have 2 rolls, 2 strips, thank you, 2 strips of cloth, and each one is 2 tefachim, altogether is 4 tefachim. So you have 4 tefachim of chak basel. So you have a problem. You're not allowed to have 4 tefachim. If you have 4 tefachim, this picture, they have 4 tefachim of chak basel in the middle of the sukkah. So it's like a division in the sukkah. You have 2 sukkahs over there, and each sukkah only has 2 walls. As you see, each one is going to be a half a sukkah. You only have 2 walls. So you're not yotzei. What? So you're not yotzei. So that's simple. That 2 stinim mitzarfim, 2 pieces of chak basel, each one is 2 tefachim, they combine to become 4 tefachim, and the sukkah is not good. But the next case. If you want to show the next case before we read it inside?
I don't know if I have it.
Okay, see more inside, and then we'll. We're turning on to Yudalit Amud Beis. I'm not sure what's happening over here. Okay. Yeah, we have to do now up page. What am I doing now?
What's the
Next
last thing
page.
that it says that Miti Savradi Ve'akol He's safer?
That was the one before that. The Gemara thought that the whole Mishnah is everybody talking. What says no? According to Abraham, the end of the Mishnah is only Rab Meir talk. That was the previous Gemara. So now on Amud Beis, Yudal 14b, Shnei Nisar Meim Estarfin. The Bryce said a second ago that two pieces of material, two strips of cloth, do combine to become 4 tefachim. But now it says this is what we're focusing on. Shnei Nisarim Meim Estarfin. Two boards. What happened over here? I'm sorry about this. Too much color got on. I don't know what that is. Shnei Nisarim Meim Estarfin. Two boards don't combine. It means if you have two boards, each board is kosher. Each board alone is kosher, and even though together, if it would have been, let's say 4 tefachim, let's say together would have been a 4 tefachim board, and it would have been possible. But now that you have two half boards, two boards, each one is only 2 tefachim, so they don't combine to become possible. Well, the Gemara is going to analyze it right away. Rabbi Omer says that also boards are the same thing as sheets, and that's like we said, a piece of material that two will combine to become puzzle, so two boards will combine to become puzzle. So it's a little bit vague, but right away the Gemara is going to analyze it.
It's very simple. They're the same size and they're both. Oh, and they're both not.
What's the difference between the Sarim? Why should there be a difference between a board and a sheet? So the Gemara says, Bishlam ul Shmuel. Shmuel reads the Brisa very easily. What did he say? Machlokes is the issue of boards is when it's between 3 and 4. Everyone knows that if it's 4 tefachim, it's puzzle. A 4 tefachim board is surely puzzle. And between 3 and 4 tefachim, that was the machlokes between Rav Meir and Rav Yehuda. So Bishlam ul Shmuel, Dam B'Shem Ben Abba machlokes, Avliyesh Ben Abba Dev Yaakov Psula. Ma'am V'Stafan Lava. The Mishnah is very easy. That if you have a 4 tefachim board, everybody would hold that as a problem. Everybody holds that a 4 tefachim board is looks like a roof, and you're going to go home, and therefore even if you holds that it's not good. So the Brisa is very easily that if you have a 4 tefachim board, it will be puzzle. How about if you have two tefachim boards? So if you
each one is a strip. Each one is kosher.
Yes. So
don't
therefore,
make a little space between them.
let's make them have a space. No space. It's 2 boards. Each board is kosher schach. Less than 4 tefachim is kosher. So
You don't make a space between them.
I should have not said that two tefachim is nothing. But it means you have 2 boards that are less than 4 tefachim. Each one is 3.5 tefachim. So ein was starfin, no problem, because Abuda holds that less than 4 tefachim is not a problem. So even though you have many of them, so fine. You don't say that it's going to be stopped by material. The material is inherently schach puzzle. So of course, if
I'm sorry, I have a picture for this then.
Yes, okay. Thank you. Okay. Very nice. In the middle of the sukkah, you have schach kosher. All the sizes schach kosher. If you can make it bigger, there's a request if you can make it bigger. Thank you. Thank you. Very good. So the schach kosher on the both sides, but in the middle, they put the schach plus they put it as if it's on top. It should have been made it on the same level. But anyway, and you have 2 boards that are 3 tefachim. So Yehuda says each board is kosher. So you have two kosher. So everything's kosher. Yehuda says everything's fine. It's not like 2 strips of material because each material is schach puzzle. So if you have 2 strips and altogether it's 4 tefachim, it's a problem. But over here you have 2 boards. Each one is schach kosher because he doesn't know the xera. He doesn't know this problem of less than. When it's less than only when it's 4 tefachim is it a problem. So if you have a 4 tefachim board, it's a problem. But if you have 3 tefachim boards, it's not a problem. Very nice. And then Rabbi Meir is going to say,
you could do the whole circle with.
Yes, and very good. And Rabbi Meir is going to say no, that a 3 tefachim board is also a problem. From 3 to 4 is also a problem. So now you have schach puzzle more than 4. You have 6 tefachim here. You have 6 tefachim of schach puzzle. So the recipe is very good according to Shmuel. Second line. According to Shmuel, it says that machlokes is when it's less than 4. But if it's 4, everyone knows that it's not good. Ma'am is starfin labo. What does the Brisa mean to say machlokes between Abuda and Meir if it's mustarif or not? They combine. What does it mean? What's machlokes if it combines? They combine to 4 tefachim. So Abuda says that if it's less than 4, 2 boards, each one is less than 4, like the picture showed 3. So then it doesn't combine to become 4 because each one is 3. Less than 4 tefachim of board is kosher. Even if altogether you have 6 tefachim of board, but each one is less than 4 tefachim, and it doesn't combine to be considered a 4 tefachim board, which is like you make a roof. And then Meir says that it does because he holds that even a board which is 3 tefachim is also included in the xera. So altogether you have 6 tefachim of schach puzzle. According to Rav, the machlokes of a mayor, the whole issue was only right when it's 4 tefachim. If it's less than 4 tefachim, then it's not a problem, even according to a mayor. And the Yehuda holds there's no problem even if it's 4 tefachim. So how do you read the brisa? What are we talking? What kind of boards are we talking about? These boards that I'm a starei for not. What is the case? What are the boards? Echidami. What is the case? If each board is 4 tefachim, the reason why it's possible is not because it's going to combine to another board. It isn't because you have 2 boards, each one is 4 tefachim. Even one board of 4 tefachim already messes it up.
Mix it up, yeah.
It's too much. Means Rav Meir says it's kosher. And Mustafa because he holds there's no problem with a whole gazera. But Rav Meir says that 2 boards don't combine to become puzzle. What does that mean? How big is each board? According to Rav, the only board which is a problem is only when it's 4 tefachim. If it's 4 tefachim, it's already too much. 4 tefachim of sach puzzle in the middle of the sukkah knocks out the sukkah. So if the board is 4 tefachim, you don't have to talk about that it combines to become puzzle. Each one of them is already puzzle. Even one of them is puzzle. And if you're going to say there's less than 4 tefachim, so then it's kosher. Either less ba'amai, and that's regular sticks, and that's not sach puzzle. So Rav cannot read this brisa. The more answers. There's the more there's an answer. Sometimes 4 tefachim boards, each one alone will not be a problem. Only if you combine to more, then it is puzzle. What does that mean? On the side, minat sad. We said in the middle of the sukkah, you're not allowed to have schach puzzle more than 4 tefachim. Once it's 4 tefachim schach puzzle in the middle of the sukkah, it divides the sukkah, and it's considered like 2 sukkahs. We saw, let's say, the material in between that you had 4 tefachim. So then you have 2 half sukkahs. Each one only has 2 walls. It's not kosher, but on the side, you're allowed to have up to Dalet Amos because then it's considered the bent wall and your sukkah is still kosher. So that's what the Gemara is going to say, that what Meir is talking about if you have these boards on the side of the sukkah. So if you have boards that are 4 tefachim, they're going to be mitzarif to become considered puzzle that you can have Dalet Amos. But in Echanami, less than 4 tefachim won't be a problem. The Gemara just finished the brisa, and Rav also got out of it. We had 2 attacks on Rav, one from the Mishnah, one from the brisa, and each one Rav was successful in answering it, and we have no proof to anybody yet. We still go back to the same machlokes, that according to Rav, the whole machlokes is only Rav Meir holds 4 tefachim boards are puzzle, and according to Shmuel, everybody holds 4 tefachim boards are puzzle, and Rav Meir holds that even 3 tefachim boards are puzzle. The next couple of lines, we're going to skip, because it's a different girsa. Lishna Achrina doesn't mean Igadamri. Lishna Achrina means a different version, and it's the printer that put it in, not I think, not 99%, and it's not a different. Not that the Gemara is offering a different shot. It's the 2 different versions in the Gemara, and there's difficulty with this version. So whoever wants to do it, can do it. And you can look in the Marsha, the Maram, and many Mepharshim talk about it. There's difficulty, so we're going to skip all this and continue. About 10 lines down. Tani Kavasi Dirav. We just saved a lot of confusion. But just to point out, that's a different gear. So many gear cells don't have it. Rashi doesn't seem to have it. He skips it the whole thing. He doesn't talk about it. And in the Kisvayah, they don't have it. So, and it's difficult. The way he does present it is difficult. So we'll take the liberty of skipping it. Meanwhile, if anybody wants to look at it by themselves, so there's who to look into. And I'm going to bring a brisa that supports both opinions, Rav and Shmuel. So we made it very easy. Tani Kavasa the Rav, Tani Kavasa the Shmuel. We're now going to bring a brisa in favor of each opinion. Tani Kavasa the Rav. Again, what does Rav say? The less than 4 is not a problem, and 4 is where Meir says that it's a problem. Okay, here it is, word for word. That Rav said that if you made the boards for the you made schach out of boards of erez, okay, that's making what kind of tree. You use cedar wood of boards that are less than 4 tefachim. Everyone knows that it's kosher. So that's openly like Rav. If it's 4 tefachim, that's machlokes. Or Meir, post Rav Yehuda Machsheh. Rav Yehuda holds that it's kosher even if it's 4 tefachim. So the Gemara could have stopped here already. It's finished the proof of Rav, but it does go a little bit further. Interesting to continue the brisa. Rav Yehuda wanted to prove his point to his colleagues that there's no gzera of a tikri. A lot of these boards that are 4 tefachim wide. It says in the brisa, Ma'aseh b'shas hasakana. Oh no, I'm sorry. He's quoting. Read this the brisa. He's talking. Ma'aseh b'shas hasakana she'beinu nesam shali ben aboah shesichachnu agavim merpeses v'yashavnu tatein. It happened at the time of sakana, the time of danger. The Goyim made a decree that you're not allowed to sit in the sukkah, which happened many times in history. That the Goyim, when we were living amongst the Goyim, or they had control, so they made the decree not to be mekayim the mitzvahs, not to fulfill the mitzvahs. And the Am Yisrael, they wanted to do as much as they can. And I'm mechuyev to be moser nefesh, and also mitzvahs say it could be that even Shas Hashmad also, the person not mechuyev to do a mitzvah say, but it said that at that time they made exer not to sit in the sukkah, so we did a sort of a trick to be able to sit in the sukkah. We bought boards that were 4 tefachim wide, and the goyim don't look at that as sukkah. They know every sukkah. What do the Jews do? They bring bamboos, they bring Atzei Shemen, Atzei Alei Eitz Zayis, all kinds of leaves, palm branches, and that's how they make a sukkah. So they said no sukkah, but they don't see people making boards that are 4 tefachim wide. It looks like a regular house. So they bought boards and they went on them a Pesach, and they had boards on top as the warning, and they sat in the sukkah. So you see, your Buddha says that's what happened. So you see that there's no xeria of boards. You're saying that 4 tefachim boards are puzzle schach.
A special danger case.
But people will say, according to you, it's possible. If it's possible, it's possible. Why did you gain by sitting in the sukkah, which is possible in Rabbana? Amulo Mishamraya ain't just a second right. The Gemara says, the Rashi says, like Chaim David said, that they said that's not a proof, but they were Shasakana, so they did the best that they can. So they were Yosei, that the Rashi said that even though the Rabbanan said it's possible, but we did what we could, maybe the Rabbanan themselves would not have made Xer when it's danger, but because with the Rashi it's kosher schach. But it's not a proof to say that it's kosher. So we finished the Rashi. Well, this was explicit like Rav. The machlok is only when it's 4 tefachim. Only Rabbeinu holds that it's possible if it's 4 tefachim wide. And now we have a price that's going to be like Shmuel, also explicit like Shmuel. Tani Kivas to Shmuel. Sicha ben Nesam Shalev Sheish ben Abod Yaakov Psula. He said openly word for word that if it's 4 tefachim wide, everyone holds that as possible. Ein ben Abod that's machlokis, even less than 4. But Meir post of the Mashir, as the Gemara explained before, that not less than 3 is surely kosher. But between 3 and 4, but Meir says it's also possible. Yehuda says not. The rest of the price also we don't have to bring it down because we have information already, but again, the Gemara is going to bring down, it'll be relevant to coming up soon. They say not pesel. Pesel means like idol. Chisel. Pesel means like pesel is going to be. The word pesel for an idol is like to be for sale, like a chiseled idol. But pesel is like pesel is going to be. It's another way of saying the branches that you use for schach. We would use the word schach instead of pesel. But that's what the Gemara means. If you have boards and the boards are puzzle, even so, there's a way to still make it kosher by putting kosher schach in between. So we're gonna have this a little bit more.
I have a picture of that.
Okay, thank you. Much appreciated.
According to Shitas Rav, what is it? Is that right?
That
You
here
see
you
that?
have boards that are puzzle. But if you have schach kosher in between, that'll be enough kosher schach. It's not so simple. You look at the picture, you don't know why is it kosher. If you only have 4 tefachim of schach kosher, it's not enough to be kosher. You have to have 7 tefachim by 7 tefachim. The picture is true, it's l'chorah true, but there's difficulty over here because first of all, on the bottom stomach, on the floor, they made the shadow. I don't get the shadow. There should be everything should be shaded over here. Someone's kosher, someone's puzzle. They made it look as if on the shadow of the floor that there's sun coming in.
This is less shadow. That's just to show that.
Okay. But on the proof, you see it's schach kosher and there's also schach puzzle. But the picture leaves us with a question because it shouldn't be kosher because you only have 4 tefachim. So no, if you have 4 tefachim, so you're not sitting in a kosher sukkah. Rashi makes the cheshbon how you can get 8 tefachim altogether. You start from each side and you end up with 4 tefachim of schach kosher in the middle. So you have altogether that there should be 8 tefachim of schach kosher put adjacent to each other, two kosher ones. You do a puzzle kosher. On the other side, puzzle kosher. In the middle, you meet 2 koshers together. So you'll have 8 tefachim of schach kosher, and that's good enough because the share of a sukkah is 7 tefachim. So 8 tefachim will be good enough. But that's l'chor what the Gemara says, but you have to fix it up a little bit. They should have made the boards not alternating as much as starting on the side of each side, puzzle, and then kosher, and puzzle, kosher. In the middle, they meet 2 koshers together. Hope that was clear. Okay.
Oh. I'm sorry. Maybe I have another picture here before you do it. Or is this somebody else's shita? I'm not sure.
What do you have here? Oh yes, that's Rashi tells us. Rashi said that in order to get the kosher, you're gonna have to do this picture, not the previous picture. You have to have on both sides. You start puzzle kosher, and then that's puzzle kosher. In the middle, you got 2 koshers together. Each one is 4 tefachim. You have 8 tefachim. That's a good kosher sukkah because on the side you have dofen akum on each side. The bent wall is going to go up all the way till the schach kosher on both sides. Another side also the same thing, bent wall until you get to the middle. Then you have 8 tefachim of schach kosher, and that's where your sukkah is going to be. Sit only in the green area on the floor. Only sit over there. That's the part that's kosher under 8 tefachim. Yashikar. Thank you, Lev Yaakov. So the Brisa continue, top line over here. Even though the boards are puzzle, you could organize it in a way that you should have kosher schach in between, and it'll be kosher. And also, Mod Rav Yehuda, that Rabbi Yehuda that says that it's kosher, but that's only if it's not 4 tefachim wide. But this Bryce is saying that if it's 4 tefachim wide, Rabbi Yehuda agrees that it's schach puzzle. And again, you could, the sukkah is kosher because you put it on the side, then you have dof and akuma until the schach, but don't sleep under that part because that's sleeping under the wall. It's not sleeping under the schach. So we finished the sugya, and what happened? Rav Meir is more machmir than Rabbi Yehuda, and in the explanation of what that machlokes is, Shmuel is more machmir than Rav. Rav holds that even Rav Meir is only machmir when it's 4 tefachim, and Shmuel holds that even Rabbi Yehuda holds 4 tefachim is not good. Rav Meir is machmir even once it's more than 3 tefachim. As far as the halacha goes, we pass him like Shmuel according to Rabbi Yehuda, or Rav according to Rav Meir, which is the same opinion. If it's 4 tefachim, it's possible. Just to sum up the sugya, we pass him that if it's 4 tefachim, it's possible. Boards that are 4 tefachim wide is possible. If it's less than 4 tefachim, it's kosher. Itmar. The Gemara is an issue about what we just spoke about in general, not about the details, but about the general issue. What if you turn these boards sideways? What's the issue? What's the whole issue?
I do have a picture of this.
Yes, please. Pretty thick. Very. The sukkah must be very strong. Very strong to hold up all those beams. They could have made it. Fine. They make it very aggressive, exaggerated. But okay, each one is less than 3 tefachim. When you look, they took these 4 tefachim boards, beams, but if it will be lying flat, it will be 4 tefachim. As you see, that's 4 tefachim. That's 4 tefachim over there. But when you put it on the side, so then each one is less than 3 tefachim. So also you could have made simple planks and put them on the side. You say that it's considered schach puzzle or not? We said that these beams are puzzle because people use them for their roof. But no one does like this. This way people might. I'm not sure, but the point is that people, when they make the roof with planks on the roof, they put it flat. They don't put it sideways. So the more one step, if you put it sideways, is this look considered schach puzzle or not? Okay. Itma, top line. Then you see, if you turn it on their sides, Rav Huna says it's considered schach puzzle. Of course, if it's only less than 3 tefachim, one such beam wouldn't be a problem because less than 3 tefachim is not a problem. You have a bunch of them, like Yaakov showed us, so it'll be puzzle because you have all that schach puzzle. Rav Huna they say it's kosher because people don't lay their roof sideways. They put the planks of the roof flat. So if you didn't do it that way, there's no reason to make a gezerah. A story. Ikla Rav Nachman L'Sura. Rav Nachman, who seems to be at least equal to contemporary of these Amoraim, or maybe bigger, he came to Surah, to that city of Surah. Those are the ones who are makshir. Rav Chisda Rabbi Rav Huna, 2 lines ago, they said that it's kosher. And they wanted to ask him, what are you old about this? They asked him, what's it then if you turn the beams on their sides? Are they kosher? So he disagreed with them. He said that's possible, like Rav Huna said. If I'm a psula,
what's the goal of putting on this?
What's the one?
What are we trying to achieve by that?
We want to know that maybe it's less than 4. So it's not. The only problem is a board which is 4 tefachim wide. This is not 4 tefachim wide.
Right,
it's true. The other way it's 4 tefachim wide, but we're not doing that. We're not laying it flat. We're hiding it on the side.
The natural way to put it is flat.
Right, and they didn't do that. So Rav Chisda Rabbi Huna said that's not the way people make a roof. So there's no reason why you should say I go to my house. You see, it's not your house. But Rav Nachman said that it's possible. Rav Nachman also said that it's possible. Why? He explained psula. Nasu kishpudish al matachas. They became like. The word shpud is like a spit, like you make a spit in order to make barbecue. A spit. That's a metal spit. There's a different word for it. A spit. Skewer. Metal. So metal is, it's not a way of saying that it's a metal, it's puzzle. Once they went and made the xera, that is puzzle, we don't care how you turn it. Metal, schach, puzzle, material, we don't care how you turn it. It's puzzle no matter how you turn it. So once they made the dish, we consider schach puzzle. So it's schach puzzle, we don't care how you turn it. Not because, even though the reason why they made it puzzle is because it looks like a roof. But once they made it puzzle, it's considered schach puzzle, if you turn it aside, it's still puzzle. So Rav Huna said, I told you so. Then I tell you to be me, means Rav Huna and Rav Chisda were arguing, and then if Nachman came to the city, and they asked him, what do you hold? He said, it's puzzle. So Rav Huna said, I said that, right? How come you didn't agree to me? Once in a while, the Gemara throws in these questions. That's the reason? You just said it's puzzle. We didn't hear the reason from you, so we didn't agree for it. Ask me. Interesting that the Gemara throws in some of the call it like sichas chulin, like small talk between them. That he said, "See, I'm right." So he said, "You didn't explain yourself." He said, "You didn't ask me." Okay. So what do you see from all this? Everyone should talk and discuss. When they say a reason, if you say something, don't just say the psak. Say also the reason maybe. Okay. The Gemara continues. So it comes out. Everyone seems to agree. Once they heard the reason, they also agree. So even if you turn it sideways, it's still possible. And Tesis, by the way, Tesis proves from here that we pass in because that's my second side. I'll leave it the Rav Loma Tukma half look the Moray Elikrav Meir Uberchav Marbo. According to Rav, this whole issue about putting it on the side is only according to Rav Meir when it's 4 Tvachim, because according to Rav Yehuda there's no issue. According to Rav Yehuda there's no issue, even if it's 4 Tvachim. So Tesis doesn't like that because Tesis points out that we don't pass like Rav Meir, we pass like against Rav Meir. According to Shmuel is good, according to everybody. Even though usually pass like Rav Bisuri, here it seems that the Gemara goes like Shmuel. The fact that it talked about putting it on the side, that means we pass if it's 4 Tvachim, it is possible. So that's how we pass it. We pass that if it's 4 Tvachim, it is schach possible. But I just would point out that less than 4 Tvachim is kosher. So how come we don't do that? How come we bother, or whatever, another word, bother? How come we exert ourselves to get bamboo and mats? Why don't you go to the lumberyard and get thin dick of less than 4 Tvachim, which is be like 30 centimeters, is still less than 4 Tvachim. And it is very neat and compact. You put it away down in the maklat and very neat and it's very shady. Why do people not do this? If anybody has a reason, I'd like to hear, but I don't know. I don't know why people don't make simple schach. Less than 4 Tvachim, it's kosher. The Mishnah Berurah says that in his days, he says that they used to make roofs even out of less than 3 Tvachim. So maybe it's a reason to be machmir even less than 3 Tvachim. Even though Gemara says it's not, it's like love shores kan ba'alma. But nowadays, that no one makes a roof out of this. Even 10 Tvachim, no one makes planks anymore for a roof. So no one's going to think this is my house. So how come people don't make a schach easy? Why don't they go to the lumberyard and they get dicks that are very thin, whatever it's easy to handle, and make it only 30 centimeters wide, and it's easy to put in
in his machzan, he's got all these planks, and he's not going out to buy new ones.
Oh, yeah, bamboo already.
No, these are not bamboo. These are.
So what's the problem? No, I'm asking why the people. How come people don't use this for schach nowadays? Less than 4
ones
Tvachim.
or the thinner ones?
It's going to be very heavy, Rebbe.
Less
It's going to
than
be
4
very
Tvachim.
heavy.
A dick,
Yeah.
dick's less than 4 Tvachim. What's a dick less than 4 Tvachim?
What's it?
A dick, there's a thin. Now, not like Lev Yaakov's picture. They have to have 10 people to pick it up. But
Right, exactly.
a dick.
If it's thin, it's going to bend in. It's not going to hold itself.
But that's the only reason.
Probably.
I think they sort of Iron Cutler said if it was made for building.
Why?
That's the
Why?
problem. I
Unless
didn't understand why.
the sun also, the chara, it should be kosher, all kinds of slats, but it could be 2 or 4 Tvachim. Okay, just
When I was growing up on Moshav Yesodot, the shul had a sukkah was made of pieces of wood. The schach were square pieces of wood, and they were colored different colors, and it was beautiful.
How wide were each one? How wide were they?
No, they weren't so wide. They were a few inches.
A few inches, but you
Yeah.
can get it's good.
Maybe not. Maybe only like 2 inches. Maybe
2 inches, like slab.
there were pieces of wood,
But you could have even
all
made this
identical
simple.
size, and they fit into the square. It was very nice.
30 centimeters. 30 centimeters. you can
Maybe
make.
one reason is because wood planks warp.
They
and
warp.
then
Okay,
won't be-
technicalities. Okay.
What do you want?
They
Uniform.
warp. They warp. If you can have a long sukkah, they'll warp. It's going to get bent. You're not gonna,
No.
but it's only technical. But if I'm sure that all the smart Jews will figure out how to make that, whatever, plywood, whatever, something that
No.
should be thin enough.
No, so
Okay.
we're aware of that because we have the leaves, what do you call it, the willows.
No, I want to say don't use any willows.
Not
Just
willows.
use this. No. I'm saying I'm trying to avoid all of the palm branches and all of the different kinds of bamboos and schachel and netzach and mats. Just get planks.
The Brandbein, they always had in the old sukkah before, 3 or 4 years ago, they only had
Slats, yeah, but very thin. I'm saying why so thin?
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to be
I want it to be 30 centimeters, 30 centimeters.
anything less than 4.
Then 4. 4 would be like 30,
That's
32 centimeters. 32 centimeters is 4 tefachim. So do less than that. Do 30. Okay.
It
So everyone's
just doesn't
saying that
look
it's
like-
just.
doesn't look like a sukkah.
Oh, so that's why it doesn't look like a sukkah, because you used to bamboo. Maybe this is also kosher. So okay, I'm just throwing out the question. I don't think everybody's gonna do it. I'm just wondering why not. Okay, the Gemara has a proof. The top line. Lema Messiah Ole. Is this not going to be a proof to him? We're not being a proof that if you turn it on the side, it's still possible. We said that if you back to the case when it's 4 tefachim wide, so we're saying it's not possible, and even if it's turned on the side, sideways, it's also possible. It says in the Brisa, oh, shnifas abapisa k'deish zakabo gdid bas rosh. Oh, shnasan olah nesa shibach ababat tefachim api shalichnes bal sachal shlosh tefachim psula. That's the Brisa, the whole page here, the whole
What's the
screen is.
name of doing?
It's trying to bring a proof to what we said before, that it's possible even if you put it on the side.
Oh, okay.
So what is the proof? So
So
that has
let's say,
let's say it's a proof,
let's say it's a proof.
and the Gemara is saying no, it's not a proof. Why does it seem a proof? So the Bryce here says 3 cases, all of them are puzzle. 2 of them are not negated to us, but it's a bonus, extra credit. It says here if the sukkah is not big enough to contain his head, robe of his body, and his table, well, that has the minimum size of a sukkah, which is 7 tefachim by 7 tefachim. If it's less than that, so it's possible. Oh, shnifas of a piercer kadesh is not kabag rosh. If it is a breach under the wall that big enough that a goat would be able to jump straight through, which is 3 tefachim, and that means that it's not considered touching the ground. It's like hovering in the air. The walls have to come down to the ground, or at least within 3 tefachim. So also that's possible. We'll see more about that later on in the Masechta. And the third case was what we're looking for. If you put a board which is 4 tefachim wide, it's possible, even though you only put into the sukkah 3 tefachim. Those words. That is a board which is 4 tefachim wide, but in the sukkah is only 3 tefachim. How do you have a 4 tefachim board which only 3 tefachim is in the sukkah? It must be that it's on its side. What's the case that you have a 4 tefachim board which only 3 tefachim is in the sukkah? Matlav, Kigon, Shafan al Sidem. Isn't this case we're talking about? And it says that it's possible because it's considered schach possible no matter which way you turn it. But the Marsh says no, it's not a proof. No, not necessarily. He put it by the mouth of the sukkah. Puma means the mouth. Metalata means the sukkah, which means that you have a sukkah of 3 walls, and the board of 4 tefachim is by the mouth of the sukkah, and 1 tefach is outside. If they block you probably have a picture of this.
Yes, I have 2 pictures.
Okay.
So the first one is Rashi, I think.
Are we trying to show now?
Here, very nice. This is a board which is 4 tefachim wide, but 1 tefach is sticking out of the sukkah. So the Raisa said that if you have a 4 tefachim plank board, it's possible even though only 3 tefachim is in the sukkah. So we thought those words would mean that it's on the side. The case before, that it's 3 tefachim in the sukkah, but it's a 4 tefachim plank, which is only 3 tefachim in the sukkah because it's sideways. The Gemara says no, it could be this case. It could be that only when it's laying flat is possible. The case is that it's 1 tefach past the sukkah. So here you have a case of a 3 tefachim, 4 tefachim board, which only 3 tefachim of it is inside the sukkah, and that's possible. That's still considered a 4 tefachim board. But if it would be sideways, maybe it wouldn't be possible. And
So I do have another picture. I don't know if this is.
Yeah, okay.
Is this a different case or this?
It's the same idea, just it's much
Why
smaller.
is it so thin, the whole thing?
It made the whole sukkah should only be 7 tefachim. This is the same case as before, but the whole sukkah is only 7 tefachim. The case before was that the whole sukkah is kosher, but you can't eat in the outer part where under that board. And this picture is showing that the whole sukkah is not good because you don't have 7 tefachim of schach. You only have 4 tefachim of
4.
schach, and
No, it seems like you have 4.
4 of schach kosher and 3 tefachim of schach possible.
Mhm.
Okay, that's your call for those pictures. The Gemara continues.
But if it was just 3, and it went to the sukkah, it would be kosher. It was 4 kosher and 3 not kosher, as opposed to 4 not kosher.
No, so you don't have enough schach. You don't have enough
Either way,
schach.
it's possible because the whole area is not big enough.
That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying.
I see.
But the more saying that the more just deflecting, you have no proof over here that if it will be on its side, sideways. That's all it's looking for. We thought that when it says that it's 4 tefachim, but only 3 tefachim is in the sukkah, we thought that it means that it's sideways. But the Gemara says not necessarily. It could be it's flat. But the case is that you put it by the mouth of the sukkah, the ayil plus a lagav, the bar. That 3 you put inside and 1 outside. And why is that bad? So we're gonna have more terminology we didn't have yet. We mentioned it a little bit, but the word psal again means schach. It doesn't mean puzzle. It means schach. Schach, which is coming out of the sukkah. Later on, we're going to see that sometimes it's considered an extension of the sukkah. We won't talk about the details now. We'll get to it later on in a couple of more pages. Rashi says on daf 19 it's going to come up. So it is the Rashi daf 9, a few tests over there is going to say. So over there, by the entrance of the sukkah, which extends past the sukkah, sometimes it's considered the sukkah for the good, and here it's going to be considered part of the sukkah for the bad. Yeah, we're going to say that since this board partly is altogether 4 tefachim, and it's by the mouth of the sukkah, it's considered schach pasal, and even the 3 tefachim, only 3 tefachim is inside the sukkah, it's still considered schach pasal. But that's even though the Gemara deflected the proof, the halach is still like we said. Everybody agrees. Rav Chisda, Rav Huna, Rav Nachman, everybody agrees that the board, which is 4 tefachim, is possible, even if you put it on the side, even if you did it sideways. That's the end of that sugya, and we go on to the next sugya. So just to sum up, it's pretty short. The summary is very short. That boards, even though technically it's not kosher because it grows from the ground, it's not attached to the ground, and it's not makabel tumah. But your Rabbanan was scared that if you make a board which looks similar to a plank of your regular house, he's not going to see the difference between his house and a sukkah. He'll go to move into his house, and they wouldn't be able to. So they said don't use such a kind of a plank. Comes out the halacha after everything's over. There's a lot of discussion we just had, but after everything's over, it's only possible if it's 4 tefachim wide, and it's possible even if you turn it on the side, it's still considered schach possible. That's the summary of halacha of the whole page that we learned. What is that?
What's the story that it's possible?
Because it looks like your house. Now nowadays we don't relate to that because it doesn't look like our house.
Right.
But in those days it looked like your house.
Because it's a massive 3x4.
That's how they make. That's not 4 tefachim wide. Don't make 3. Don't remember the picture. The picture is don't remember the picture of the beams. The picture showed us the huge things. You don't need all that. 4 tefachim wide, no matter how thick it is.
But that's 40 centimeters.
Yes, that's why it looks like people use planks for their house. When they make the roof in their house, that's how they live the whole year round. And he's going to say, this is my sukkah. My house is just as good as my sukkah. And he's going to go into his house and tell his wife, what do I have to sit on the sukkah for? The house is just as nice. That's a good sukkah. But he's wrong because the house is made for a house. It's made not for shade. It's made to be a house. That's really possible, even though it's a kosher material. So they said, Rabbanan, don't use planks that are 4 tefachim wide. And that's the halacha. That's what we paskin. And the poskim are even less than 3 tefachim because nowadays means in the times in Europe, that they say that they would make beams that were less than 4 tefachim also, less than 3 tefachim maybe even. But nowadays, I don't know if that applies because no one does it anymore. So why be machmir more than the Chazal? Chazal said only 4 tefachim is a problem. So I think that the Chatchili should be allowed to use boards that are less than 4 tefachim wide. And why people don't do it? So far the consensus was because it's not practical. But that would mean that you're allowed to the Chatchila. So we'll leave it open. If anybody finds anything about
cool sukkah, just totally out of it.
Yeah, it's surely going to be a conversation piece. If you make such kind of thing, you have what to talk about.
All
Someone
the
comes to visit you in the
All the
sukkah.
things that are 100% kosher, but they
We don't hear.
What's the case? This is really his house. This is really his house, but he wants to make his house kosher to become a sukkah now. They used to do that. They used to take off the roof and then they put schach on top. But he wants to keep his roof. He likes his roof, but he wants to redo it in order to make it now for schach. The same, he has kosher schach, but we said a second ago that if you have your planks that use the whole year round, you can't go there because it wasn't made for shade. It was made for living purposes the whole year round. So he wants to make it kosher. How could you make it kosher? So the mission.
Excuse me, here I have some pictures here. The first one is just showing the house.
This is his regular house. Okay, he lived it all year round. Then he has a nice house with a roof. Each board is, you see it's nailed in on the sides, the nail here, and this is each.
We already said it can't be.
But now he wants to make this house, he wants to make it a kosher sukkah. But he doesn't want to take off the roof and put a schach and put palm branches. He wants to use these boards. These boards are good. Here he goes. You see the guy there? He's the being of fakfake. What's he doing?
hole in the
He's taking out the nails. That's the
Oh, the
Rambam.
metal.
The Rambam and the Rosh say that when fakfek, you see the word coming up, it means taking out the nails. Rashi's going to say that it means to pick up all the boards and put it down again. The Rosh and Rambam say it means taking out the nails. Taking out the nails, he's showing, oh, he's also picking it up also. Hey, he's doing everybody. He's
No. It's two different pictures. I'm sorry, it's
Yeah.
two different pictures.
Okay, yeah, okay. But it could be fine.
Oh, the nails is because of Makabal too.
All right. Okay, let's see now the we got the general idea.
The,
He has
the
a
title
house
of this
also.
picture is Shitas Rashi. That's the
Uh-huh.
title of this
Oh,
picture.
So he took out the nails also in order to be able to lift it up, but not that taking out the nails was the end, was the thing in itself. But
Oh,
the
I
Rosh
see.
and the Rambam,
Yeah.
they said perfect. They bring down the Mishnah Ruby is not that the Rambam holds like Rashi, but Rav Kapach in his edition of the Rambam wrote it in Arabic, so he said the translation wasn't good, and the Rambam holds like the Rosh that Mufakik means to take out the nails. Taking out the nails already shows that you know that you're not allowed to use your house of the whole year. So that's going to be a reason why maybe.
Duyak in Rashi, because Rashi starts Soiser. He says Soiser Umin Akeh.